Welcome back, everyone, here to Veteran Nation. I am the skipper. And before we get started today, I want all of you to go to www.nrnplus.com/VN. That's our landing page. You can subscribe to the network. It's $9.95 for the month, $79.95 for the year. So you get a little bit of a discount. Again, that's www.nrnplus.com/VN. And that's all spelled out there just like that, and you're going to get access to all the great content that we provide here at NRN. You're going to get independent journalism, independent takes for everyone on the show, and you'll be supporting this show as well and all the people that we try to help here. So today on our show, it's very exciting. We've got Natan Bradbury. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. You nailed it on the first take. That's awesome.
And yeah, you have a couple organizations that I really want to hear a lot about, but the big one is your foundation, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really, really excited about that. So I've been involved ever since I got out of the military in veterans mental health in some form or another, right? I was a peer counselor for 22 Until None for a while. I did that. Actually, talked a couple of guys down from ending their story. That was phenomenal. Really enjoyed that experience. So a couple of years ago, I decided I'm gonna take a step out, really pull together everything that's been part of my journey, and put together a nonprofit for veterans mental health. And that's the Mystic Warrior Foundation. We just launched last year. We've run a couple classes already. We just got our 501c3. So I'm super excited. I could talk for hours.
No, that's all very exciting. I want to hear about all of it, but I also want all our viewers to know. You said you were in the military. Now you were in the Army, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
I had an 8-year run of some interesting times. We'll call them that.
That the military is always going to be interesting. That's a good way of putting it. Now you just started all this. You said October.
Yeah. So we officially incorporated last year.
Okay.
During COVID. Hey, got to do something with all this downtime. And so we incorporated last year, and then we launched our first class October last year,
Okay.
our Warrior Boot Camp, and that was absolutely fantastic.
Now we have, a mix of people who watch the show. A good chunk of them are veterans. This show is geared towards veterans. Obviously, anyone can watch, but we're trying to help veterans and entertain veterans. And you do a lot of stuff with veterans. If I were a veteran who had some interest, what type of things could I do with your program? What type of things would I experience?
Sure, absolutely. So, and we're always expanding. We actually just brought on a clinical psychologist, so we'll be doing clinics and whatnot soon as well, adding that to the list of things. Right now, we've got a couple classes going. We've got some pre-recorded classes, some live classes. Depends on where you're at, what you want to do. We've got a course led by a former first sergeant in self-confidence. We've got a former Fleet Master Chief of the Navy came on as an instructor, and he recorded a class on finding your purpose, right? So it really just depends on what you want to do. We've got some martial arts classes. Just, the main thing would be to reach out and see what fits.
Okay. And is this all in person? Is it virtual? How are you guys doing it?
So right now, everything's virtual, right? That's how we launched. That's how we're running. We have some goals this year. God willing, we'll hit them. We'll see. To purchase some property, start retreats, some in-person things, a lot of in-person outdoor activities, even bringing over our sensei to the location, building a dojo, kind of like what you see behind me, right? That's the goal.
No, that's all really interesting and exciting. So it seems like you guys are, or at least attempting to expand really fast.
That's the goal. I mean, I've got big visions, right? But that's part of starting things, and really having that foundational mindset, right? But yeah, it's the goal is really to help people, right? And so, how can we best do that? I'm always looking at different ways, different methods. Okay, is it better to do a live class? Is it better to deliver something over video? And then, what can we do in person, right? Especially with everyone kind of scattered across the country. So I'm always looking at different possibilities and opportunities.
Now, with doing this, we do get people, our fans on our Facebook group, and I'm very active on Twitter. They do contact me. I get DMs and stuff like that, and a lot of people are trying to do similar things. What type of challenges have you run across that you think, if someone wanted to start their own 501c or business, what type of things do you think you didn't expect that you think they should know about?
Be prepared for a long road. There's no short answer. When I first started, I had a big vision of, okay, we're going to launch. We'll get our a letter from the IRS quick. We'll turn around and get grant funding quick. No, it takes a while. Relax. Take some time. Lay a solid foundation. Make sure you have, if you're doing a nonprofit, make sure you have a solid board, right? And the board is really going to make the difference when it
Okay.
comes to the organization. 100%.
Now, uh, was there anything that was either easier, or was there something out there that helped you that you didn't expect?
Um, the biggest help has been the board, right? That's
Mhm.
definitely why I mentioned them. Taking some of that weight off of my shoulders, kind of spreading that around. In terms of ease, I wouldn't necessarily say ease, definitely. One of the things I didn't expect was the length of time to get the letter from the IRS, right? That actually took
Okay.
longer than I anticipated, but they're backlogged, right? So, yeah, what are you going to do?
That could change, yeah, hopefully for the better.
It could,
um,
it could for sure. But yeah, for anyone who really wants to start their own business, they want to start a nonprofit. Look around, kind of get your. Matter of fact, I was just helping another veteran buddy. She wants to start a nonprofit to help families of the fallen. Right, so that's what her nonprofit is.
okay.
So yeah, I was just kind of giving her some advice, some of the things you got to do, file with the state, make sure you have everything in order, but be prepared for a long road, right? It's not necessarily going to be a quick turnaround. It's not the easiest thing to do to go out and solicit funds for your nonprofit. You may have this amazing mission, but like you said, there's a lot of other, we'll call them competing, right? Nonprofits. So you really got to look at, okay, where can I position myself? Where can I make the most impact? And how can I really drive this forward? So that's the advice I would give for sure.
Oh, that's great advice, and that's anyone who's looking to do it. I think they would definitely appreciate that. I know that as I've been doing this show, and we're not quite at a year yet. We're getting there, but this has been a very big eye opener for me in terms of being a veteran, and this is totally different. There's nothing like this in the military at all, so I've had to kind of figure this one out, and I've got a friend of mine who has been helping me and working with me, and he was never in the military, but he pointed out something. He's like, here's one thing I noticed that you military guys are very good at. You're great at networking. What you're horrible at is turning that into action or dollars or whatever you need to. He's
Sure.
like, you know people all over the world, but you got to learn how to leverage those people to either get more access to something or get money flowing in, something like that. He's like that's one thing that I think you veterans don't realize, the gold mine that you're sitting on. So
Yeah,
that
and there's a lot of truth to that, right? And that is the one thing I've noticed. I'm great with connecting with people, like you said, great with networking. That's really not been an issue. And the other side to that too is you have to look at, if we're talking about, excuse me, if we're talking about donors, right? And we're talking about, okay, there's so many different charitable organizations. Me personally, I have my own, but I'm also donating to other veteran organizations, right? So I'm spreading my money around as well, right?
Mhm.
But there's really a limited pool when it comes to donors. So you have to keep that in mind if you're thinking about, okay, what makes my organization different? What sets mine apart? And how can I best, turn those dollars into helping more people? Right. That's really where you got to have your mind at.
Oh, that definitely makes sense, and I'm sure there's, you start thinking, okay, what else can we do? Can we sell merch? Can we do, you know, stand on the side of the road with a bucket, whatever we can to get things in. Uh,
Right.
it's funny how all the stuff out there and all the discussions that you start having. Um, but
Right.
with with your organization, I think it can really, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think it really would speak to military because the type of things like with your martial arts, because you guys are doing kickboxing, what all the things that you guys offer
Yeah.
there?
So we do a few different martial arts classes, and really it's tied into very tightly into the warrior code, right? And so if you remember when you were in the military, we all had a code, right? There was in the army it was loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, right? All that stuff that you had to memorize, and you thought it was a bunch of bullshit, and that's just what it was, right? But um, with with the academy, with the code, it's really based on the principles of the warrior, right? So I've borrowed very heavily from Bushido, taking some of those ideas, some of those concepts, along with some of my own personal virtues, I guess you could call them, right? My own character traits, and put together it's the 11 virtues of the warrior, right? So gratitude, awareness, honesty, integrity, discipline, right? So the way that the training is actually structured is you have the martial arts class, but that's also tied into one of the virtues of the warrior code, right? So everything's connected, everything's together. So when we do our martial arts class, you have a portion of that's taekwondo, then there's a portion of it that's American kickboxing, then there's a portion of that that's kung fu and tai chi, right? So everything's connected, everything's tied together to really give you, I guess I could call it holistic, right? A more holistic
Yeah.
approach, like a whole body approach, instead of, okay, it's all mental or it's all physical. It really, we should look at it in terms of like everything's connected, everything's together, right?
No, that makes a lot of sense. I've been very open on this show about, I've got a diagnosis of PTSD and anxiety, and that was a part of bringing me to doing this show is to help others because I, struggled for a little bit, didn't identify everything that was affecting me that along those lines, and now that I'm on my path to treatment and wellness, I'm finding that having to center myself and just calm myself is probably a lot of the biggest things, and it's all linked to a lot of the stuff you're talking about with spirituality and wellness. If I were to come to your program, what type of things do you think would benefit the most from?
I love how you mentioned that, right? In terms of being centered and breathing, that's huge. Breath work is a part of martial arts. Being centered, that's a part of martial arts, right? And again, tying that all in and tying that together. Now, the way, and it's a very structured program, right? So it's not like you just come in and you do whatever you want. It's very much like a formal martial arts program, a very formal academy. So you come in, you have your initial class that's taught live, and that is the Way of the Warrior, right? So that's your basically your initial, we'll call it kind of like a boot camp, right?
Hmm.
It's your initial introductory class. You come in, you learn that, you complete that, you graduate, and then you move into your we'll call it warrior combat training, right? And so that's your hands-on self-defense. That's integrating with the virtues of the warrior. Learning that, once you complete that, then the other classes open up, and then you can take classes on self-confidence, right? A lot of people struggle, let's be honest, we struggle with our own self-worth, especially after we get out of the military and we're lost, right? We're like, who am I? What am I doing? Right? That's huge, huge part of transitioning out of the military. One of the things I noticed when I was a counselor for 22 until none is that people would come out and they'd go through that transition period, and that's where the suicidal thoughts would come in, because they're like, I'm useless. Without the military, I feel like I'm useless, right? So it's really, you have to refine yourself all over again, and that's where we step in and we really kind of fill that gap.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That was very much my experience transitioning out. You do so many good things in the military, and you're taught to just find a way to make stuff happen. You get very good, especially if you've been in there for a while, and then all of a sudden you walk out and you don't realize all those little things that were taken care of for you so that you could focus on the bigger things and getting those things done. Now all of a sudden these are the things that you have to worry about, and it's like, well, I can't worry about, I can't manage these and work towards that next thing. So it becomes very frustrating. So for those who have struggled with depression and suicide, I totally understand it. I think anyone who's transitioned out of the military, especially if you've been in for a while, I think will have a good understanding of what people go through. But I think your organization really can help with that because you're connecting each other.
Very much so. It's really cool. Uh, the the entire board of the nonprofit, we're all veterans, every single one of us. We've got two Army veterans, two Navy veterans, so we kind of get a little bit of a mix there. And with the students that have come through the class, uh, primarily have been veterans. Once we started and word started getting out, I had some civilians kind of come to me. I had a couple psychologists come to me and were like, "I like what you're doing. Can I send some people to you?" Sure, why not? I mean, I'm not going to exclude anybody just because they didn't put on a uniform, right? And, just to further drive that home, one of the psychologists I connected with, she's like, "My son, can you train my son?" So we've got a 10-year-old, right, that we're teaching, and kind of giving him a leg up before he even gets to his teen years. So it's been really phenomenal.
No, that's all great. In fact, several of the classes you were talking about, self confidence. You don't think a lot of people would not even think about doing a class like that. Us in the military, all we do is train and retrain, and every year it's okay. Yeah, we gotta go back and redo this stuff again. I think it's important what you're doing by doing stuff like that, because that's something that I don't think people in their day-to-day lives really consider. And our country, we struggle with a lot of different things that you don't see in other countries.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think there's something very unique that I've noticed about American veterans, right? I've talked to veterans in the UK. I've talked to veterans from the Israeli army, and there's definitely some shared experiences there. But maybe it's the culture. I don't know 100%, right? But some of the struggles that we face. What I noticed is that the tools that we're given while we're in are more, they're really oriented more to like you said, it's based on training conditioning.
Hmm.
um, mentioned this, and I used to have a podcast, so it's a very similar thing, right? You're almost treated like a machine, right? And so through all this training and conditioning, but yet here's the problem. Now you've got downtime. You're done with the training. You've finished your combat deployment. Maybe you lost some buddies. I know a lot of guys who have, right? And now you've got the downtime. Now what? What tools do you have to chase away the nightmares? What tools do you have to help you deal with the survivor's guilt, right? And so because the military really doesn't equip you with those, I looked at, okay, you know what? Let's look at some of the different tool sets that we can equip people with to help them after they get out, right? So self-confidence, what else we got? Classes in mindfulness, right?
Mm.
And being able to ground yourself in the present moment. We've got some veterans that have had success with yoga, right? So we've got some yoga classes, like all different, excuse me, all different kinds, right? And all different approaches. I've pulled in psychologists from around the world, really some top level people to come and give these classes. So it's definitely having an impact, and it's fantastic.
No, you definitely are touching on a lot of great things there. In fact, I think you were kind of exposing something because while you were talking, I was thinking about I knew a gentleman who was in the UK Navy, and as we were talking about our shared experiences, he was kind of like, well, I'm kind of shocked how you Americans handle coming back from a deployment. It seems like you all just kind of scatter and go to the wind. Everyone takes their leave and they leave. He goes, yeah, that doesn't happen with us. He goes, when we get back, he's like, he goes, it's normally 3 to 5 days where we don't see our families. Yeah, we're back, but we don't see our families. We're kept on a base somewhere, and yeah, we're still given stuff to do. He goes, but he was telling me it's pretty much a big drinking fest, but it's just their chance to kind of let loose the steam collectively, a little bit of camaraderie. And he talked very affectionately about those few days that they had, and I was like, at that time I was like, I think that's really interesting because the U.S. military I've seen kind of move away from some of that stuff. We used to all be in squad bays where we were all right next to each other and sleeping in the same under the same roof, and
Right.
now we're in barracks that we get our own room. We get go away from each other. So I find that interesting in a little bit of the dichotomy. But yeah, I think you touched on some interesting things there that may be worth exploring for the U.S. military.
Yeah, and I would definitely love to see some changes there, right? One of the things I've uncovered is just the lack of support um, as you're transitioning out, right? The current model is okay, you're getting ready to get out of the military or you're coming back from a deployment. We're going to make sure you've got a job or help you try to get a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to help you with your benefits and so on and so forth. But mental health is completely overlooked, right? That there's so little put into that no wonder and we're losing so many veterans a day, right? It's I
Yeah,
know it used to be 22. It's higher than that. I think it's like 35 today, but
yeah,
it's a really high number in it's past time, right? We got to do something about this.
yeah. We definitely have to. We have to do some drastic things to break this cycle, and that's exactly what it is. For those of you who've been in depression, I have. It builds and builds and builds, and then you finally come
Snowball.
out of it, and you it's very easy to get dragged back down. So it's I've got friends who every month they text me, hey buddy, check, are you okay? So things like that are good, but I think also there's things like your program. I think also getting in each other's face and saying, hey, it took a veteran to say to me, you have PTSD, you need to go talk to somebody.
Right.
And I did not recognize the symptoms, and they were 100% right.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned that too, right? The other piece to that is, for me personally, survivor's guilt, right? And Uh, I lost a couple of good buddies in '03, right? When my unit went to Iraq. Um, I carried that with me for 15 years. Like I buried it. I dug a 10-foot hole, not a 6-foot hole. I dug like a 10-foot hole, threw dirt on it, buried it until it came bursting to the surface, years later, right? So being able to handle that, being equipped to, okay, yes, you survived, your friends didn't, but there's a reason, there's a purpose, right? It's 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 not for nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being able to be equipped with that, to remember that, that makes a huge difference.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Um, yeah, a lot of the stuff you're talking, I know
Oh,
it
preaches the
resonates with me.
choir. I know,
I
right?
know it resonates with the people who are watching, the fans, because they do reach out to me and tell me, wow, I really like this guest. They were talking about this and these type of things. So I mean, I think we're by doing things that you're doing, things that I'm doing, I think we're really reaching out there, and I think we're gonna eventually grasp something. That's going to pull this all back in. So hopefully, like you said, it's all for a reason, and we can improve people's lives.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? If it's very interesting. I'm Jewish, right? So my background, it's a long story, but suffice it to say, right? There's it's one of my favorite quotes. And if you've ever seen Schindler's List, it's talks about in Schindler's List. It says that it's from the Talmud. It says that if you save one life, it's as if you've saved the entire world, right? So you make one difference, one person, and it's huge ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
A perfect illustration, again, if you've ever seen Schindler's List, at the end, all the descendants of all the Jews that Schindler saved, right? And just that one effect. So
Mm-hmm.
the same thing, we can, right? We take the same concept and we apply it to what we're doing. If you impact one life, if you save one life, who knows, right? You never know what kind of impact that's going to have on you.
Absolutely. And I get a lot of civilians who do watch the show and reach out to me, and they want to help. If they wanted to help with your organization, what type of things can they do?
Absolutely. So right now, again, being fairly new, um, what we're ramping up with doing is getting financial support, right? So in full transparency, and again, getting back to what we talked about, starting nonprofits, a lot of nonprofits run out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, our nonprofit is mostly running out of pocket. It's my pocket. So, so what would help a lot, alleviate some of that stress, alleviate some of that pressure, some financial donations, so that we can expand more, we can help more people financially. Right now, we're also looking at potentially bringing on some additional psychologists. So if you got a psychology background, um, definitely shoot me a message, reach out, and we'll continue building it out from there.
No, no, that's perfect. In fact, I do want to get into where can people reach out to you? What websites do you have? What social media? Anything you want to plug so that uh, everyone who wants to join, anyone who wants to give, anyone who wants to volunteer, whatever they can do.
Absolutely. So our primary donation, our primary website for the nonprofit is the Mystic Warrior Foundation. So just go to www.mysticwarriorfoundation.org, right? You'll find our contact info there. You can also reach out to us directly at contact@mysticwarriorfoundation.org, and we'll respond to your message. Um, those are two of the primary ways to reach out. So.
Okay, no, excellent. That's you know, I would encourage everyone who's watching on the show, if there's anything you can do to support the organization, if you want to take part in anything, definitely reach out. If you're struggling, reach out. There are lots of good people who want to help you,
Yeah.
so definitely do that. And I really want to thank you for joining us today. This has been a great discussion with you, and I hope that you can come back and join us again.
Yeah, that would be phenomenal. I really appreciate you having me on here. It's been a fantastic, fantastic.
No, that's perfect. And again, that's www.mysticwarriorfoundation.org, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And for all the fans, again, I'm gonna push my plugs here. Uh, Go to www.nrnplus.com/VN, all spelled out. You can you can subscribe to the network. You can subscribe to our channel. It's $9.95 for the month, $79.95 for the year. You're going to get access to a lot of great content, some exclusive things that I do with us, kind of behind the scenes with the network, things behind the paywall. So please support, do whatever you can. And for everyone out there, thank you for being worth serving.
One more thing, real quick. You
Yeah,
mentioned it earlier. If you're struggling, please, for the love of God, reach out. Right?
absolutely.
There's so many different organizations. Do not become a statistic. We need you here. You're here for a reason. You can reach out to me. You can come find me on Facebook, Natan Bradbury. Right? You need me. I can, and if I can't help you, I can connect you to people who can.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Everyone, reach out, even if it's to a buddy, to a friend, suicide hotline, whatever it is, whatever you're most comfortable doing, just talk to somebody.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you again. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor.
All right. God bless.